We are loud, obnoxious, and completely inappropriate. Viewer's discretion is strongly advised. Hello everyone and welcome to Camping with Lenny. This is episode 8 and today we are going to be talking about first-time campers. If you're looking to start camping for the first time, doesn't matter if it's solo camping or with group camping with your friends and family, or again, solo camping like what I do. Before you go out there, I just want to make sure that you guys have the information you need to start your camping hobby. Camping adventures, that's the word I was looking for. Camping adventures. So here's the thing about camping. You don't need the most expensive equipment out there. You don't need the most cheapest equipment. You just need something that you can start with. It does not matter if you want to buy it or rent it or whatever, but I'm going to definitely suggest something. I'm going to suggest to you guys that if you are planning to go camping for the first time, rent your equipment. Why not? If you rent your equipment, at least you don't have to worry about storing your camp gear or try to figure out where to put it, where to clean it, all that good stuff, especially if you're a first timer. I always suggest that when people are going for the first time, rent your equipment. I borrowed equipment for the first time I went camping many moons ago. I don't have to buy it. I just, hey, can I borrow your tent because I don't know how to camp yet? Or I just need to try it out for the first time. I'm not even sure if I'm going to like it or not. But borrow your equipment. Save your money. Just borrow equipment. You can borrow your tent. You can borrow your sleeping pad. Even sleeping bags if you want to. Chairs. You can rent your chairs. You can borrow chairs from your family and friends. Just minimize your expenditure for the first time camping. Right, and always try it out. If you are planning to buy your equipment for the first time, and what I suggest is you just go to your local camping store and try it out. See how it's supposed to set up. Ask them to put a demo together, putting it together. Ask for a demo to put the tent together, for example, or lay down on a air pad, for example. They allow you to do that because it's a big investment. Right. So I always say to people, always borrow or rent equipment first before your first time. And that's a very big thing. The other one as well, too, is going camping is not like traveling. Traveling, at least you can have an idea of the weather that you're going to get into. In the world of camping, you have that flexibility to figure out how cold this is going to be outside or how hot it's going to be outside, but you have to be comfortable. So when you're planning to pack for the first time going camping, be prepared for everything. Especially if you're planning to go camping in the fall or in the spring. Be prepared. So always make sure that you prepare during the day, your clothing, during evenings as well too, and overnights, especially when you're getting ready to go to bed. Always wear something that you want to sleep in. At the same time, you don't want to take that outside because you do have bug spray. But all the way, we're going to go through all this very details. I just want to give you a high level because this episode can be potentially very, very long. So I'm going to keep it short for now, give you highlights of what we're going to talk about, then go straight to the big ones, okay? So clothing wise, you just have to be very, very cautious about the weather that you're going to be experiencing, okay? The other one as well too we're going to be covering is is food. Food is very, very important. Food is your morale booster when you go camping. You don't want to go camping that you're going to be miserable and trying to figure out what you're going to eat. Be prepared for your food. Always make a menu. If you're camping with friends, ask them to make a menu or talk to them, figure out what you can plan to have to eat. When I go camping with my friends, We meet up a couple of weekends before the camping trip. We go to a bar and just go through a list of what we're planning to have meals. What kind of meals we're planning to have throughout for the next 3 to 4 days, right? Even though we even plan what kind of lunch we're gonna have as soon as we get to the campsite. Right? Who's going to pick up a sandwich, for example, or who's bringing up the beers, who's bringing up the water, all that good stuff. So it's very, very important for you to find out exactly what you guys plan to eat and drink. So that's one thing. That's a big thing. The other item that I'm going to be going very detailed on is your campsite. Where are you planning to go camping? How far do you want to go? How close you want to go? You can go anywhere you want for camping for the first time. Especially you're going to solo, make sure that you know the area fairly good, so you don't have to worry about if something goes wrong. But if you're going to go with your friends for the first time, you're going to go with them. You have to tell them, hey, how far you're comfortable to go, or how far you're going to be away from home for your first time camping, right? Again, this is your first time, so you do have the ability to say, hey, raise your hands. I don't feel comfortable going this far up north, or go far up south, or whatever, or from the bushes itself. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable too, that I'm comfortable that going out for the first time. Right. And so that's one item we're going to be discussing as well. The other one as well too is to have fun, and to have fun at the same time be very environmental conscious. So we always have a rule. I personally have a rule. So whatever I bring in, I bring back out. So this is including especially if you're going to go to a campsite that you have to bushwhack in, for example, that you have to portage in or something like that, then you do need to make sure that whatever you bring in, you bring back out. If you're planning to go to a campsite, then there's a little bit more flexibility in that one. This means whatever you bring in, there's a garbage area that you can throw your stuff out. Then you can bring home. So make sure you clean your surroundings and all that good stuff. So let's talk about the essential equipment. Essential equipment is very, very important for the first time campers. You want to make sure, like I mentioned before, if your first time, consider renting your equipment. Don't buy it. If you rent it, this means you own it. This means you're responsible for doing an upkeep on it. And if you are going to be your first time camper, you don't want to spend this much money for a new tent, a new sleeping bag, pads, and chairs, and all that stuff. But what I suggest is this: find out your local camping store, right, and ask them, do they have a rental program. This means that you can rent your tent, your sleeping pads, possibly your sleeping bag. I personally don't like sleeping someone else's sleeping bag. I prefer to bring my own, so I might just invest a good one for a sleeping bag. But consider renting a tent, a sleeping pad, and a chair. But personally, if I'm gonna use a camping chair, I'll just buy my own chair. At least I know it's comfortable. Plus, I can bring it to the beach or to the park if I need a chair, right? But yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling now. But consider renting a tent and a sleeping pad, because there's a good chance that the tent that you're going to be renting is you like so much, you can buy one, or you can try different sleeping bags. Sleeping tents. I mean, just to give you that flexibility that you're looking for. Plus, you don't have to store it at the end of the day. You can just return it and you're good to go, right? But if you do decide to buy your own tent, like I mentioned earlier, go to your camping store, go to your local camping store, spend time with the associates, ask them questions, tell them to help you set it up, see how it's supposed to set up, ask them if you can go inside the tent. See if it's there's things there like ventilation that you have, how big are the doors, how much stuff you can fit in there, and all that good stuff. But here's the thing. Here's a little trick. Consider getting a tent slightly bigger than you think you're going to be using. Okay, here's an example. You are one person. Let's just use an example of one person tent. If you get a one person tent, it is the size of a coffin. So look at getting like a 2 or 3 person tent if you're by yourself. The reason why is this: you have room for your your sleeping pad, your bag to put your clothes on, and you have room to change inside the tent, especially if it's raining outside, if you need to change your bathing suits, or you need to change clothes because of the weather changes outside. You have room inside to change. So upsize your tent. If you're one person, look at the 2 or 3 person tent. I personally go for a 3 person. That's just me. But if you are a couple, for example, consider getting a 2. If there's 2 of you, don't get a 2 person tent. Get a 4 person tent. Reason why is this: more room for you, your partner, and your equipment, your clothes, for example. So that's just a trick that everyone's doing, that everyone that I know does. I do the same thing. I have a 4 person tent for myself when I go solo camping. If my wife comes with me, we have a 6 person tent. Again, because of the extra room that we need, right? So just keep that in mind. If you are renting or buying a tent, make sure that the tent is sized for yourself accordingly. Go 1 or 2 person more what you're planning that you're going to be getting. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The second that I want to talk to you about is the for equipment wise, a sleeping bag. Sleeping bag is kind of interesting. The reason why I'm saying that is this: sleeping bag is going to be your primary bedding when you go camping. You can get a 3-season sleeping bag. This means summer, winter, fall, right? Or you can just get a sleeping bag that's like lightweight, because you're only going to be camping during the summer. But remember, if you are planning to camp, weather does drop, it does get cold at night. So if you have if your forecasting is, let's say, 28 degrees C outside, but look at the lowest temperature that the overnight's going to be. If it's a 28 C, and there's a good chance that night will be, let's say, 10 C, right? 10 degrees Celsius. Then you need something that's a little warmer. So here's the thing. My sleeping bag can go to +4 degrees Celsius. I'm good with that bag until like it gets cold, right? So I'm good with that. So that during the summer, I use the same sleeping bag during the summer as well too. If I'm warm, I don't use it. If I'm hot or warm, I take it. I roll it out. If it's cold, I put it back. I put it on top of me. It's one of those things that might as well get something that's actually a few degrees rated. At least you'll be a little bit more comfortable. But here's the thing, though. Sleeping bag is a hit and miss, temperature-wise. If your sleeping bag state that it can go to, let's say, 0 degrees C, tack in +10 degrees. You know why? They're not superly rated to handle 0 degrees. It can handle it, but you have to layer inside the tent to make that work. So just keep that in mind. I will not rent a sleeping bag. There's no way I'm going to rent a sleeping bag. I'll rather buy my own sleeping bag. At least that sleeping bag I can use for guests, for if I have guests in the house, for example. So get yourself a brand new sleeping bag. Again, same thing as a tent. If you're planning to buy a tent, if you're just go to your local camping store and try out the sleeping bag. Touch it, feel it, see how small is it when you pack it. How big is it? If you're a 6 foot tall person and the sleeping bag you bought on Amazon can only handle a 5'8" person, guess what? You're not gonna fit inside that inside that sleeping bag. So definitely look at it. Go to your local store, check out the sleeping bag. Personally, for me, if I can put the sleeping bag over my head, I'm good. Right? I don't put it, if it's stopped underneath my neck, that's not long enough. because people have a tendency to, when they get cold, they curl in, right? Or they put something on top of their head, right? So just keep that in mind for sleeping bag wise. Be realistic regarding the temperature you're going into. If you're only going to be doing summer and it's rated only for 15 degrees C, go lower. Go lower. Might as well be warm than cold, because if you're cold, it'll be a miserable overnighter. At least if you're warm, you can just unzip your sleeping bag and go. Here's a trick though. Here's a trick for me. My setup is kind of weird. My setup is kind of interesting because I do use a sleeping pad, and I do actually put a fitted sheet on top of my sleeping pad. Then sometimes I use my sleeping bag like a blanket. I only do that during summer because it feels a little bit more comfortable. That's a little trick and tips for my side. That's how I use mine. Speaking of sleeping pads, so sleeping pads is actually kind of unique here. I prefer using sleeping pads rather than air mattress. Reason why is this. You can get a sleeping pad. You can get like a 2-incher, right? Self-inflated sleeping pad, and the R value of that is way better than a air mattress. Plus, packing it is a lot easier as well too. Same thing like I mentioned earlier. You can rent a sleeping pad. You don't need to buy one. If you are planning to buy a sleeping pad, make sure that your sleeping pad is slightly bigger than your sleeping bag. Reason why is this. If you have your sleeping pad, you're laying on top of your sleeping pad you're inside your sleeping bag. If you roll, right, when you roll to your side, there's a good chance that you will be rolling. You're not going to roll in the same spot. You'll be rolling slightly to your right or to your left, depending where you roll. It will be nice to have your sleeping pad when you roll, like where your arms are going to be rolling to. But if your sleeping pad is slightly narrow than your sleeping bag, by the time you roll, you'll be actually going out. You're falling off the sleeping pad, right? So consider that. If you are planning to buy your sleeping bag in the same time, then you're renting a sleeping pad. Lay them down on the ground, put your sleeping bag on top of it, and see how much room you have in both sides. I prefer to have a wider sleeping pad. So, because what I mentioned earlier, when you turn around, you're covered, right? So, that's another gear that you can rent out if you want. But it's up to you if you want to buy one. I personally treat the sleeping pad like my sleeping bag. I prefer using my own. At least you're comfortable with it. You know how to feel it and all that stuff. And here's another trick and tips here. Trick and tips. That's the words I was looking for. When you get your sleeping pad and your sleeping bag, set it up in your living room or your bedroom. Inflate your sleeping pad, lay down on it, sleep there overnight, see how it feels. At least you get used to it. Don't set it up in the first time on your campsite, because there's things there that you might like. Oh, I wish I had my internet to read the instruction. Oh, I did not know this works. At least when you try it out the first time at home, you can return it if something goes wrong or if there's something you don't like about it. So just think about that. Set it up before you actually go camping so you know how to use it. Okay. The other piece of gear that I want to talk to you about is lighting. Lighting is very important, especially if you're going camping at night. What I use is a headlamp. I don't use a flashlight. I don't use my phone. I use a headlamp. You can get a headlamp anywhere you want to get it. You can get one for like $10 all the way to like $100 to $200 headlamp. You can get from rechargeable one or the battery ones. It's up to you which one you want to use. But I personally use a battery powered headlamp with 3 settings. Four settings: low, medium, mid, high beam, and a red light. Okay. Let me tell you guys first about why I got a battery powered one rather than a rechargeable one. Here's the thing though. When I started camping for the first time, I always been camping without a power outlet. No power on campsite, like non-powered sites. I've been doing that since I started camping, I will never go back. I only use powered campsite once in my entire life, and I'll tell you guys about that later on. But typically I do non-powered sites. So having a rechargeable light back then was not an ideal situation, because if the battery died, it's easier just to replace it rather than charging it. Right. And the reason why I have a red light on my lamp, my headlamp, is at night, your eyes needs to adjust if it's from a complete darkness to a white light or a bright light, and you're going to lose that night vision ability, your natural night vision ability in your eyes. So typically we use red light just to glow the area, plus it does not affect your night vision. Right, so that's why when you watch movies, that if they go to red alert, all the lights darkens to red light. That's the reason why, so they can adapt their eyes easy between the monitors and the surrounding ambient light. Having the white light, it's distracting and all that stuff. But same thing, the same concept in camping. At night, I do use red light when I walk to the bathroom, for example, or I have to go to grab a beer or something. I don't use white light because of again, by the time you turn it off, your eyes takes a while to adjust. So that's light. I also have a lantern. Inside my tent, I do have a lamp, a battery lamp. Now I actually have a rechargeable lamp now, but the rechargeable lasts a long time. I have one in my lamp to illuminate inside my tent, so I can change properly. Right, or I can read a book or anything like that, so it's there. Plus, you just give a little bit of ambient. Also, consider having a lamp as well too outside your tent, like where your eating area is. It's nice to have a headlamp because when you eat, you don't have to rely on balancing the flashlight between your neck and your shoulder. You can just have your lamp facing down and eat properly without cumbersome of a handheld flashlight. And if you do have a lamp, that will help you cooking as well too, so you don't have to at least in a glance you know where everything is. Having a white light or ambient light, or white lightish, or a light, either lights are during preparing food or setting up or whatever, it's great. But I typically turn them all off after I do all my chores. At least you can walk around without ruining your eyesight or changing light source between the darkness and fully light. So you'll learn how to maneuver yourself, but definitely I recommend having at least one lantern and one headlamp. I prefer using powered headlamp. Again, if something goes wrong, it's easy to just change the batteries instead of charging. I do have a chargeable lamp, but my lamp actually does last a long time before I have to charge it. So that's why I have that. The other piece of gear that I want to talk about is the stove. Stove is actually pretty interesting. You can approach this in two ways. One, you can rent a stove, right? Or you can buy your own stove. There's two types of stoves you can get. One is a propane base, and the other one is isobutane base. Right? If you are planning to go solo camping for the first time, don't go nuts on your stove. You can rent a stove, right? If you're planning to rent a stove, that's perfect. At least you don't have to worry about storing it, all that good stuff. But at the same time, you are in the mercy of what kind of stove you're going to get, right? I have two types of stove. I have a 2-burner stove that uses propane. I have another single burner stove that uses propane as well too. What you get in your campsite, the little bottle things. They work perfectly for me and easy to store and all that stuff. Reason why I have a 2-burner and 1-burner, I typically use a 2-burner stove, but I'm actually moving back to a single burner. Reason why I noticed that I don't use the other burner. This to make a long story short, the 2-burner stove I got was a hand-me-down from my sister. So it works really well. I used it. No issues there, but I prefer using my single burner. So I'm going to move back to my single burner stove. They're both propane, so that's good. It's easy to pack as well too. Also, when I cook food, I rely on my campfire to cook my food. I only cook stuff in the burner if I need to boil something or fry something. typically I do barbecue, so it's usually on the campfire that I cook I cook my food on top of the campfire as much as possible. About 80 to 90% of the time, I cook my food there. Right, so the stove can be you can use stove. You definitely need one no matter what. Also, there's other type of stove there too that you can use. One, you can get a very small portable folding one. You can literally chuck it into your bag and it's there. If you're planning to go car camping, mostly, I recommend just get a regular stove. It's actually cheaper. Regular single burner stove. It's cheaper, and it's not that bad easy. It's not that hard to store, especially if you're car camping. But if this is you're going to be your first time, definitely consider just renting one. Right? It's a big investment. They're not. If a good one, it can cost you about $200. If you go to the cheap side one, you can get one for $50. But it's a crap shoot if you buy a $50 stove that you're not sure if it's going to work or not. So consider getting just renting one for now. And if you're very adamant of buying one, do your research. I'm a big fan of the jet boil or the Coleman stoves. So just make sure that you pick the right one, and make sure the fuel that he uses is easy to get as well too. And if you are planting a stove, get yourself one of those barbecue lighter. Right, some of them do have a fire starter built into your stove, but I don't typically use. They're nice to have, but if that goes down, you do need to replace it, or you do need to have your own fire source. So I use a barbecue lighter to start my fire. Okay. The other piece of kit that I want to talk to you about is the cooler. The cooler is very, very important. The word cooler explains everything. It just keeps your food and your beverage cold. Right? So pardon me, I just need to drink my coffee here. I was saying the cooler is very, very important to keep your food cool, and your drinks cold at the same time. So this one is up to you, depending on how big typically everyone has a cooler. It doesn't matter if it's a soft bag or a hard case Coleman cooler or a Yeti cooler. There's two things you can get in cooler. One is powered cooler that you can put in a cigarette lighter, and the other one is just insulated cooler. I have an insulated cooler, and I have my cooler for past 10 years. It never failed me once. It never failed me at all. So it's up to you how you guys want to do your cooler. Typically, you're going to have one anyway. You can just already have one. Doesn't matter if it's a bag base or a hard case base style cooler. But you know what you need to cool. If you're planning to go summer camping, make sure you always have ice with you. It's always cold and all that good stuff. For liquids as well too. If you have a beer, you want it cold. If you have water, you want it cold. So keep that in mind how you want to do your cooler. Again, this is up to you if you want to rent one or buy one. I personally, same thing as the steaming bag, buy it, because you never know when you're going to need it, especially if you're going to go do a cookout or a barbecue. Nice to have a cooler outside. All right, here's a little tricks. Here's a trick and tip for you in the cooler world here. What I normally do is it's kind of weird, but it does work very well. I layer my ice. So, for example, I put a bag of ice at the bottom of my cooler, put my meat, my food on top, in the middle one that needs to be like ice cold, then my beverages and all that stuff. Then I put another layer of ice. Then anything that's like on, then I put another food, like anything that does not have to be ice cold. It can just be like the bottom layer will be frozen. The middle layer will be your regular refrigerator stuff, like your butter or corn or vegetables or whatever. I put in the middle layer. Then on top of that, I put another layer of ice. That's 3 bags of ice already put in that cooler. Then after that, that will just keep everything nice and cool, right? So, but here's a trick. Grab yourself like one of those small water bottles or one of your water bottles, your reusable water bottle, just pour water on top. Make sure there's water, there's a layer of water. The reason why is this. As soon as the ice starts melting, you start creating water. And it's going to keep it incredibly cold inside that cooler. The water will help melt the ice, and at the same time, the ice is keeping the water cold. So now you have this beautiful layer of like ice cold water. And I can guarantee you that technique will keep your cooler cold for like 4 to 5 days. When I do that, I don't have to maintain it at all. It will just keep it cold. Sometimes I actually put salt in the cooler itself just to keep it regulated a bit. So that's how I do my cooler. And to be honest with you, it never failed me yet. It keeps my food and my adult beverages and my water ice cold. Even my frozen foods remain frozen. I have to defrost them. That's how good it is. And at the end of your camping trip, when you're ready to leave, you get rid of all the water as soon as you start packing and open it up and leave it under the sun. So by the time you pack your car, you're ready to go. Your cooler is dry and you don't have to wipe it when you get home. So, little trick there. Okay, so the next one will be pots, plates, cups, and utensils. Okay, so I have a camping pots and pans kit that I got a long time ago. You can get those kits in Amazon. You can get one from your camping supplier. You can get one. They're not expensive at all. You can get one for $25-$30. There's you can get 3-piece one. You can use those. Those are great. I've used as well too. Is I have bought a non-stick pan in a local store, and I used it for 2 seasons. And it works perfectly. You don't have to go fancy on your pots and pans. And you don't need to go fancy on that one. You can just get your own. You can get one for the dollar store or something. But again, just make sure that's fire rated. The good thing about the portable ones, it's easy to pack and ready to go. Regarding cups, I normally bring 2 usable cups. One is a coffee mug, right? And the other one's just a water bottle. The reason why I use those is it's easy to just pour water in there and drink water, and the coffee mug is just there to drink your coffee, and that's all I use. I don't use anything else. Regarding utensils, I do have a camping utensil kit I got for like dirt cheap during an off-season sale. They're 4-piece. You can use those. You do need to wash them every time you use them. But you can use whatever you have at home as well. That's fine too. Just remember, you are going camping outdoors. Don't bring the most expensive ones. Just buy something that you don't mind losing. But do yourself a favor. Get yourself a very good sharp knife, because if you do need to cut, you can use that. Plates. It's a little, let's just say, it can be very controversial. I use paper plates. The reason why I use paper plates is because I burn everything that I have on the fire when I'm done. So if I eat food, for example, then I use my paper plates to eat my food on it, right? Of course. And when I'm done with it, I actually just chuck it to the fire and just let it burn. That includes all the oils from the food and all that good stuff. The reason why is this: if you are camping in the wilderness, or even just in the campsite, there are animals out there. There are raccoons, there are deers in some points, there's bears as well too. You have to keep an eye on them as well too. You want to make sure that you burn everything so there's no trace of food, so they can just minimize your exposure to animals, especially raccoons. Raccoons are tricky little bunch of little critters. They love going into garbage and all that stuff because there's food there. So whatever you can burn and just burn it off, it'll be easier for you. It'll be easier to clean as well too. Plus, it's less garbage to bring away, to haul out, right? So that's what I use for plates wise. I never used reusable ones because again, I'd rather burn it so I don't have to worry about it, right? So that's that. And the last one in the essential equipment list is the camp chair. Camp chair is one of those pieces of equipment in camping that you'll be using more than your tent, especially at night. If you're in front of the fire, you need to have a good chair that you can sit on and not hurt your legs and all that stuff. So this is what I suggest you to do if you're planning to buy a camp chair. Doesn't matter what kind of camp chair it is, you have to sit on it. Go to the store, open it, assemble it, whatever. Sit on it for at least 5 minutes. Move around based on your sitting position. You change your sitting position. You want to slouch, you want to sit up straight, you want to do you want to Captain Kirk it? Just like, put more weight on one side and all that stuff and feel it. Sometimes camp chairs has this crossbar at the front of the chairs. It can actually pinch your legs. Right. And you don't want that. If you start feeling that and you're going to be there for a while, you're going to have a very miserable seat. So find yourself a very good camp chair and to be honest with you, if you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, just rent it. Then you're not sure where you want to store it, don't rent it. Just rent it. But sit on that chair and make sure that you're comfortable on it. Because again, after you eat, clean up, first thing you're going to do is grab a beer. You're going to sit down in front of a campfire and enjoy your night. And you don't want to be uncomfortable. Just remember that. And make sure it's portable enough that if you decide to go to the beach, you can just pop it in your car, head to the beach, set it up, you get to go. And also, don't forget you need a cup holder. Make sure there is a cup holder on that one. Right, so that's the essential gear that you should be bringing with you for the first timer. But now let's talk about clothing. Clothing is kind of unique. Unique in a way that this is not a fashion show. You're going camping to relax. So don't bring the most expensive clothes that you have. Bring something that you're going to be comfortable with. Remember, you have to dress for the weather. If you do that, you'll be prepared. Okay? Try to avoid cotton as well. The reason why is this. Cotton gets wet, it can get cold, and can get sticky and heavy, and it's just going to be miserable. Try to use synthetic materials as much as possible, like synthetic fabrics, because it's lighter weight and it's breathable. Get something that's breathable. Make sure it's breathable. I personally have a shorts with me. A couple of pair of shorts. I do have a sweatpants that I use. That's waterproof. I use that a lot at night, especially if it gets cold. I also bring with me a sweater. Even during the summer, I bring a sweater during the summer just in case, because you never know how cold it can be overnight. I went camping one time. It was beautiful during the day. It was we were getting 25 and 28 degrees C outside, and at night it went down to like 10, between 5 and 10 degrees C at night, and then the temperature shot up during the morning. And I'm glad that I had a sweater, because I learned my lesson, because at one point I did not bring a sweater. Trust me, it was cold. And just bring a sweater with you. Again, just wear something that's like not super heavy. Just wear something that's lightweight enough, that plus warm at the same time. Remember, if you're gonna have clothes outside, this is the reason why I say that don't bring your most expensive ones. If you are planning to put bug spray, you are gonna spray the bug spray on top of your clothes, right? And it's gonna smell. And if you are in front of the fire, your campfire, your clothes will smell like fire. So just keep that in mind. So just make sure that what you're going to bring with you is suitable for the environment. Regarding shoes, I typically just wear sandals and flip-flops. during campsite. I do have runners with me just in case that I decide to go hiking, but typically I'm a flip flop sandals kind of guy during campsite. And also one thing as well too, bring yourself a like shower shoes, like flip flops that it gets wet, it doesn't get ruined, but it's easy to dry. Just in case you decide to take a shower in the comfort zone or the comfort rooms with if you have campsite with a bathroom or a washroom, at least you can take a shower there. At least you don't have to walk around with your bare feet. Just saying. So always wear something comfortable. At the same time, bring a jacket or a sweater. This is not a fashion show. Please be generous. Don't go too crazy on the clothes you wear. For me, I know, just for me, when I go camping for that's matter of 3 days to like 5 or 8 days, I treat it like a carry-on style trip. I just make sure that I put everything in my backpack and go. So, and also if you're planning to go swimming and there's a beach there, get yourself a quantity of 2 swimwear. Because if you go to the beach or in the pool, after you use it, you want to rinse it and hang it, right? And if you decide to go to the pool and the beach again the next day, at least you have a spare one. So I normally bring 2 if I know that I'm gonna be swimming in the water. So that's the camping wear thing. The next one I want to talk to you guys about is toiletries. Toiletries is very, very, very nice to have. I bring everything in other words, I have a toiletry bag that I use when I travel for work. When I travel, I use the same thing. The only thing that I make sure that I have with me is my shampoo and my body soap, right? Because they don't provide that, you have to bring your own, depending where you go. And deodorant, you name it. I just bring the same thing over and over again. But here's the thing, though: if you are going to go camping, try to avoid using anything that has smell to it, like a perfumey smell, because bugs do get attracted to those. So what I normally do is I try to find something that's like scent free. Then use that. I don't use deodorant as well too when I go camping, because it does attract insects and all that good stuff. So just be aware of that. Also, bug spray, like I mentioned earlier, bug spray is good to have. Use that. Also, I normally bring my own toilet paper as well too, as a backup, because you never know. If there's an emergency, bring one. Bring yourself a hand sanitizer as well too. Again, just to keep your hygiene up, because you're going to be outside all day, all night, right? So just be aware of that as well too. And do yourself a favor. Bring yourself a bag of Ziploc bags. Because sometimes if you have a bar of soap, for example, and you don't want to just put it back in your bag, you just put it in a Ziploc bag to keep it separated and keep it dry inside your toiletry bag. And also bring extra quick dry towels. Not bring extra, but get yourself a quick dry towel, like a body towel, and also a face towel that quick dry as well too. Reason why is you can just hang it and let it dry really fast. I bring 2 of them with me. One's a hand face towel one, and the other one's a full body towel quick dry. After I use it, I'll just hang it in the clothesline or on top of my tent. It dries up in like less than 20 minutes. Then I fold it back and bring it back to inside my tent. Right, so just have that. Makes your life a lot easier. So yeah, that's the toiletry side. So also I forgot to mention, always bring a first aid kit. You can get really good kits again in your camping supply shop, or you can build your own. Make sure that you can find a list online. You can find a list of first aid kits if you want to build one online, because again, if something happened, at least you're prepared to use it. And make sure you know how to use your first aid kit. That's the key. You don't want to fumble around, try to cover a wound, and try to read instruction at the same time. It's not very fun. Okay, this is the last one. And this is the most important one. You guys ready? Food. I have a very, very strict rule about food. I'm going camping. It does not mean that I have to rough it with my food. If you listen to my last full camping trip in Port Barwell a couple of episodes ago, I actually had a filet mignon for dinner. Reason why is this. The reason why I'm saying that you don't have to rough it while you don't need to eat rough when you're roughing it. Eat well while you're roughing it. Don't bother eating freeze-dried food or all that like that. If you have access to a cooler, bring food with you. If you want to eat a steak, eat a steak. If you want to eat ribs, eat a ribs. If you want to have a pizza, that's a little bit difficult, but it is possible to have pizza while you're camping. Just be realistic. And at the same time, you don't have to sacrifice what you're planning to eat. But if you are if you are going to start putting a list together what to eat, make sure you have this make sure you plan it properly. You need to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. Then you need to have a morning snack, afternoon snack. Okay, you need to prepare that, and also the evening snack. Right. So that's like 6 meals that you have to prepare. That you need to make sure that you're good to go. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Yes, 6. Just remember. Make sure you have everything planned, because you don't want to overpack, and at the same time you don't want to underpack. I typically pack if I do a 3-day camping trip. That's lunch, dinner for, let's say, Friday. Saturday will be breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday will be breakfast, maybe lunch. But remember, you still have snacks in between. I usually plan my meals that way, and on top of that as well too, I make sure that I have enough snacks to cover all the snack times, and I usually pack one extra meal as well too. The reason why I do that is nothing fancy, but something simple to eat, simple to pack, and simple to take, because you don't want to run out of food. Let's say, for example, if you're trying to cook meal and you burned it, at least you have a spare one. Those kind of things. So you make sure you have a backup meal, at least for one meal backup, right? Breakfast wise, the world is your oyster. You can eat whatever you want, right? But you remember, you do have to pack all your stuff, or your spices and all that stuff. How you guys want to take it? Just make sure you bring that with you. And all your snacks, make sure you have that ready to go as well too. And the most important things is tea and coffee. Just give you guys a heads up. I like coffee. I'm drinking coffee right now. It's getting cold, but I do need to heat that up. But I do drink coffee. When I started camping, I've been using the instant coffee, the 3-in-1 coffee. They're great in a pinch. Right, they're great in a pinch. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been drinking that stuff for a while, and I come to the point now that I need something better. So, I actually bring my own. I have one of the pots that I use for camping. I pour water in that one. I actually have a pour over coffee. I have a little pour over thing that I bring with me, and I just pour over coffee right into my mug and drink coffee that way. I pre-grind everything when I go away. I have enough coffee for 2 mornings plus. I always pack for 2 coffees a day when I go, because it's one of those things that I like to drink. If you're not a big coffee drinker, if you do need coffee just to do a pick-me-up, a 2-in-1 you can get in the store. That's perfect. Starbucks has them. Nescafe has them. Everyone has them now, and they're passable. They're not like the best, but they're passable. But personally, for me, getting too old to drink that stuff. I need something better. So that's why I have a pour-over coffee with me when I go camping. But again, it's depending on what your how you want to drink your coffee. The other one as well too that I forgot to mention is the canned goods and side dish and all that stuff. Bring some if you guys want to. That's actually my backup meal, is the canned foods or the side dish ones, because if something goes wrong, at least I have that ready to go. excluding my last trip because I forgot my vegetables and I had to do everything side dishes. That was fun. But if you're just make sure that if you do have a can entree, for example, or canned food, make sure you bring your can opener. How many times I see people forgot to bring their can opener when they actually, let's say, can corn, for example, they forgot to the can opener and they can't open it, right? So if you're planning to have a dish or a backup dish or any type of, even equipment wise, make sure you have a tools to fix it or open it. That's a very key thing to have. So yeah. So that is the guide to your first camping trip. Make sure that all your essentials like your gear, your clothes, your toiletry, your meals are planned accordingly, so you don't have to worry about that. The other one as well too that I forgot to talk about. I'm going to talk about now. I just remembered now that I mentioned earlier, is where to go camping. Camping is actually a very, very, in my opinion, a very intimate way to get to know yourself, especially if you're going solo camping for the first time. Doesn't matter if you're going with friends and family, but solo camping is very, very intimate. The reason why I'm saying that is it's just nice to be prepared for it. So when you are going to go camping for the first time and you're trying to look for a place to go camping for the first time, don't be ashamed to stay close to home. If something goes wrong, you can bail out. You can say, this is not for me. I'm going home the next day, for example. If there's an emergency, at least you know where the hospitals are, for example. And if you forgot something, at least you know where the stores are and the shops are. Make sure that when you go camping for the first time, you are comfortable to be out there. Make sure that you know you're aware of your surroundings, and at least make sure you have cell signals so you can call for help. So if you're gonna plan something, make sure you have 3 or 4 options to go and check out the area. Check out the area. What's outside the park, for example. What's outside the area where's near a hospital and all that good stuff. So at least you are prepared. At least you know where to go. And make sure someone knows where you are going to. That is the key. That is a very important thing to know, is where you are. But if you are going to be with your friends and family for the first time going camping, they're seasonal and you're not, ask questions. Ask them questions. Ask them, hey, where are we going? Do you know where this is? Do you know where the hospital is? Do you know where the nearest shop is, just in case we forgot something? Hey, I need to borrow this. Where can I get this? Ask questions. Don't rely on don't rely on research, or rely on your research, but get it validated with your friends and family that's been doing camping for a while, right? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Here's the story. I'll give you guys a little story. I went camping a few years ago with friends, and one of the campers that we went with, she didn't realize that she had heat stroke. Right? She had a headache. She just felt exhausted. She's been drinking a lot of water, and I looked at her. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I just don't feel good." So she has that look. She has a pale look of like exhaustion. So I had a feeling it was because we heat exhaustion. So I did the skin test. So if you guys don't know the skin test, you can actually pinch someone's skin. If the skin snap back really fast, right? This means a person can be dehydrated. This means a heat stroke. If your skin is actually it bounced back, but it's not like immediate, this means you don't have heat stroke. So I did that test to her, like a simple test, and then I noticed that she's pretty dry. So my buddy and I went to grab some Gatorade for her to get her electrolytes back up. So, and some water, and a few hours later she was feeling a lot better. So this is her first time going camping, and she didn't know what's going on. So I'm glad that she has like 6 of us to get her back up and running again, and she was fine after that. That was her first full day out of 4 nights. That's how long the camp. It was a 5-day, 4-night trip, and that was her second day. So always rely. Ask questions. If you don't feel good, talk to your friends or family that's going camping with you. Make sure that you're okay. Try to do some research regarding how to do typical small first aid practice. It will help you, and yeah, just be aware, and you're gonna have so much fun, and you're gonna love it. So that's what I'm saying, that make sure you're aware of your surroundings. Don't be afraid to stay close to home, at least, especially if you're going to be solo camping for the first time. If you're going to be with friends and families, ask questions. Just ask questions. Make sure that you are comfortable to go out there. Okay, so yeah, those are my tricks and tips for first time campers, and just be out there and have fun, and just relax and enjoy your time camping. Thanks, guys.